you can essentially take this AI and train it by giving it all the information on that particular unit, including appliances, documentation on appliances in PDFs. You can tell it where the shut-off valves are. You can tell it a lot of information about the unit to where, let's say when a person calls and they're freaked out, this thing can be smart enough to tell them, like, take a picture of the problem and analyze it.
We had a person named Larry who was answering on-call calls, and Larry was sending people to the office to get light bulbs, to get a plunger, to get a wrench. And so the office staff was really taken back when, the resident was coming into the office going, "Hey, Larry sent me for light bulbs." Who the heck is Larry?
Talk to it like a human. Go and ask like the products that you would be using. Be like, give me the demo and I want to talk to it. And now you can tell. Like you can tell with certain AI, it's like, oh, well, this is a disaster. See, with agentic AI, man, he will ask questions, then sub-questions, then try different things, then troubleshoot issues. Like we already use that. We have it. Like it works. What I'm really interested in is just to see what we can do with agentic AI. How we can apply agentic AI in order to improve maintenance. And in that, there are 3 different buckets.
I want to start by giving the floor to Z. Tell us a little bit about yourself, do a quick intro, and we'll get right into it.
Thanks, Adrian. I'm the CEO and founder of BetterBot. We're one of the top AI companies in multifamily. We work with 8 out of the top 10 property management companies and 12 out of 20. We were pioneers in AI, and we started the company in 2018. A little bit about myself. I've been a tech entrepreneur for 25 years. I've been in PropTech for the last 15 years, and I spent some time on the build side. And I've been in multifamily since 2018. I feel privileged to live in an era of AI because I get to solve some really cool problems using some amazing technology.
Z, I want to start by, doing a part where we better understand what AI is and what AI isn't. Because I think, when you said this very well last week at a conference, when you go hit the conference floor, everybody does something AI. Like everybody has like a company with a name that finishes in AI. So like everybody is AI. When we're looking at this stuff, us as, layman, right? We're not that typically that involved, like, hands-on in technology. Of course, we're users, we're end users. Sometimes we have involvement, but like not that deep to understand how do we vet, how do we vet a company? What can we tell? How can we tell who is like a legit AI company, who's not a legit AI company?
That's a question I get all the time because right now the buzz is out there and everybody's talking about AI. Like for the last 3 conferences, I can just also look at the sessions and it's just AI. And now it's getting to a point to where 90% of the companies that are at these conferences claim to be AI companies. But now there's different types of AIs, there's different types of implementations, and the results can vary wildly. Because right now, from a vendor standpoint, everybody sees AI as an opportunity to kind of rebrand themselves, and everybody realizes that unless you're selling AI, you're no longer interesting. Because when I talk to leadership, when I talk to executives in companies, they know that AI is coming. I mean, it's like on the Super Bowl, but they really don't know what it means. Some of them might have played on ChatGPT a little bit. Just quickly, have any of you played with ChatGPT? Everybody, I mean, we use it all the time. So it's like people are starting to get an idea, but it's like, how does that translate into the products that you see every day? Because also AI can mean a lot of things. I mean, AI has been around for quite some time. Like, for example, recommendation engines like at Netflix and Spotify. I mean, that's a type of an AI. Then we've had natural language processing like conversational AI, which was pretty basic, but that's been around for about 10 years or so. And then we have agentic AI, which is AI that's underpinned by large language models. And that's the AI that we're really talking about. That's the AI that underpins Google Gemini, that's the AI that you see underpinning ChatGPT with all of their models. You see Microsoft has products like Copilot. Then you have Claude, you have Perplexity, which is becoming very popular for web browsing. All of those tools are agentic AI, and that's the one that I'm particularly interested in because it solves a lot of problems that you couldn't solve with technology up until now.
Oh, before I go to my next question, gentlemen, thank you for joining today. I do want to say that this is not like a conversation between me and Z and you just like watching, witnessing. I want you to raise hand or like to intervene at any given time. It's like a totally open forum, like we always done. My goal for 2025 was to for each topic to try to bring an expert that does this on a daily basis, not like us, like we might use like AI on a daily basis, but like that's all he does, right? So that's what makes him an expert. He actually builds technology that's around AI. So by all means, at any given point, please, ask your questions. And you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to use the, hand raise button or like just intervene. Like there's no such a thing. We want to make it as interactive and useful for you as possible. So with that being said, Z, obviously, what do you see in a maintenance field? What do you see in the space when it comes to AI technology? Like what type of products, do you develop anything that's like in this particular area of property management? And then what do you see others doing? Like what the space looking like from AI perspective?
Well, I can tell you, it definitely looks like an interesting space because there isn't one conversation that I have with multifamily property managers that they don't bring up. If I'm like, list your top 5 problems, they're going to have maintenance in top 5 problems almost always because you hear we're understaffed. It's becoming more expensive. There are people are being poached by large contractors. So there's like some shift in the workforce in maintenance. Big things are happening. So, and at the same time, maintenance isn't one of those things that you can ignore. You simply have to have functional maintenance in a building, especially any building to where you want to retain any value in, to where you can cut in a lot of places, but ultimately you are going to have a certain level of maintenance in order to be functional, let alone to have a thriving property, one that increases in value. So with that said, there are multiple places where people are looking at for opportunities in maintenance. I will tell you first, we can split them in sort of like hardware and software side. On the hardware side, what you're going to do, you're going to see more and more talk about predictive maintenance. So there's going to be more sensors on different parts of the building, everything from plumbing to gas systems, electrical grids, electrical installations within buildings, smart lights, appliances, and all of that data is going to be harnessed, and you're going to be able to apply AI in order to be able to say, I think strategically we should pay attention to this building or replace this part, or this part's way too old. It's way past its expected life. And it can give you actual suggestions on how you can solve some of your problems there. So that's part. And I would expect that in the next couple of years, we're going to see some amazing products there, but that's going to involve a bigger spend. And it's going to be somewhat of a challenge for existing properties because you're going to have to retrofit those properties. And that can be like a serious project on certain properties. So that's why what I'm really interested in is just to see what we can do with agentic AI, how we can apply agentic AI in order to improve maintenance. And in that, there are 3 different buckets. That one is, how do you triage maintenance requests? So being the first line of defense. So what you can do here, and this is low-hanging fruit from my perspective, because it hasn't been solved well so far. How do you support residents in 24/7 fashion? How do you manage escalations? How do you make sure that you don't turn too much work after hours? How do you minimize emergencies? And I feel that AI, agentic AI, can be very successful for that part. The second part is what happens after the triage and a decision was made by the human or AI and human that we need to escalate this. So now the second phase, the second bucket is work order creation and work order submittal into an existing system. So how do you collect information to complete a work order? AI can be really good with that, with chatbots, because it can essentially ask the questions that you need to know to where you make sure your work orders are complete. It's really good at that. And therefore, once it's complete, it can go ahead and submit the work order, but also it can be your communication assistant with the resident while statuses are being changed or updated on that particular work order. So it will allow kind of ease anxieties with residents. Okay, this is being worked on. You can check the status. Come with me, check all the time. I can give you potentially estimate time of completion, so on and so forth. And once the job is done, I can follow up and be like, hey, was this fixed? Are you satisfied? If you are, potentially be like, would you like to rate us? And try to extract a good rating out of residents when it comes to maintenance. So that's number two. And number three, finally, is how you run the maintenance operations internally. So what happens on how you manage work orders that are broken down into job orders assigned to employees and contractors? And then how do we manage rentals? How do we manage equipment? How do we manage materials? Essentially, managing the internal part of the maintenance organization. So those are the three things. Now, when it comes to priorities, I think what we're going to see more, and I can tell you how I'm giving you a little insight into how we're thinking about this, is scenario number one, the triage portion. That one I think can be done really nice, and there isn't a solution for it right now. Well, for the other two, work order submittal and internal management, there are some ERP systems that exist for managing the internal operation, and also most property management systems can still be used, even though they're very clunky, to ask a resident to submit a work order. So to me, that's where I see that. So how do you guys feel? I want to hear back from the group. Am I on the right track here, or are we thinking about this, or are we far off base?
We actually have three. We have three different gentlemen that have their hands up. So we're gonna start with Tim, as he's the one that raised the hand first. So Tim, please shoot.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time and the data intellect on this. My concern is how authentic is the data, because we use several different AI tools, and crap data in is crap data out. And that's one of the things that we struggle with, is that from a maintenance point of view, is my maintenance guys they want to be turning wrenches. They want to be doing things. They want to be making things happen and resolving problems. Getting them to utilize the AI tools correctly so that we can analyze that is one of our biggest struggles. How do you factor that into your plan for AI integration?
That question is spot on, because you're right. Like if you get the wrong data, and I'm assuming you're talking about like a work order that's incorrectly filled, or it can send you on a wild goose chase. You end up escalating certain jobs needlessly and increasing the cost of your operation. So one thing that why I'm excited and why these things have not been solved up till now is because the AI up till now simply wasn't capable of doing that. And I think this is a really good opportunity for me to tell you about AI, how it really works and how to think about it, and what's really changed over the last couple of years, and what's this agentic AI that we're really talking about. Before, when in our old AI models, for example, even our classic chatbot product, it would have one question, and then it gets an answer. It doesn't really contemplate the answer much. It records it to the best of its ability. It will get it right a lot of times, but also sometimes it'll make mistakes, and it has no way to correct itself because it doesn't really have a memory of a conversation or anything like that. It's pretty simple. It's essentially like, trying to understand some text and write it down. Now with agentic AI, what's happening? You train the AI to be goal oriented. So you don't tell the AI, when this happens, I want you to answer like this. When this happens, I want you to answer like this. But you train it more, be like, what I want you to do, I want you to make sure that the residents are as happy as they can be, and that you try to solve the problem first before you escalate it to us. In order for you, so what happens now, but if you do have to submit, this is the minimum requirements of what you need to do in order to validate a work order. So new agentic AI, this AI that started with ChatGPT, it's only 2 years old and it's getting so much better, is really good now at self-validating some of these answers. So now we have some of these models, they're called reasoning models. So they can check their work, the work that's being submitted. They can make sure one more time that they run it through an AI that actually validates that everything meets certain requirements. And all of that happens in the background. So what happens now, you can essentially take this AI and train it by giving it all the information on that particular unit, including appliances, documentation on appliances in PDFs. You can tell it where the shut-off valves are. You can tell it a lot of information about the unit, to where, let's say, when a person calls and they're freaked out, this thing can be smart enough to tell them, like, take a picture of the problem and analyze it, and then apply data from everything that it's been trained on to try to triage situation, or to tell someone this is a real emergency, or to tell someone, hey, you show me a water leak, the shut-off valve is behind the sink in the master. Go ahead and turn that really quickly to prevent like major damage from happening. So that's where I think the AI, Tim, is getting better, and we're benefiting from that, because some of the AI that I'm seeing, especially in the last week, my team is testing with conversational tools that I think that we won't be able to tell much of a difference between human and AI very soon.
Okay, that's great, because one of the struggles that we piloted a program at two of my sites in the Q4 of 2024, and we had a person named Larry who was answering on-call calls, and Larry was sending people to the office to get light bulbs, to get a plunger, to get a wrench. And so the office staff was really taken back when the resident was coming into the office going, "Hey, Larry sent me for light bulbs. Who the heck is Larry?" So that's one of the challenges we had with some of the pilot programs that we are running, where it's like we were not told that there would be a Larry. We were told that there would be a person answering, a live body that was answering these phone calls, trying to walk them through some of the on-call situations to vet them so we could save money. And in fact, it ended up costing us money and costing us reviews and renewals and so forth, because Larry wasn't helpful. Larry was sending residents to the office to get stuff that we're not going to give a resident a light bulb to change a light bulb. We're not going to give a resident a plunger to plunge their toilet. So those are the type of things where the data in and the data out have to be spun on.
And see, that's why Adrian asked the question first: how do you spot good AI from bad AI? And there's only one way: talk to it. Talk to it like a human. Go and ask like the products that you would be using. Be like, give me the demo, and I want to talk to it. And now you can tell. Like, you can tell with certain AI, it's like, oh, well, this is a disaster. This is like, obviously built on like old school natural language processing, and it barely answers certain questions. It's not trained very easily. It doesn't know how to troubleshoot. See, with agentic AI, man, he will ask questions, then sub questions, then try different things, then troubleshoot issues. Like, we already use that. We have it. Like, it works. So the thing is more like how accurate it is. That's what I'm saying. Like, some of the models that are out right now, I'm telling you, play with this on your own phone. Open ChatGPT, go take a picture. Like, I've played with, like, I'll drop my lamp and I'll be like, what's wrong here? And it'll be like, oh, it looks like, your lamp is down. Watch out for the bulb that could break. And, in order to fix it, first check the hinges, see if it fell because it was like, too loose, and it toppled because the head was too heavy. It was amazing. Like, how many things they'll take you through in a simple way to troubleshoot that, like, right out of the box. So imagine that, plus all the unique unit data that we can train it with the real appliances that are in there, with like stuff that we already know as a maintenance team about a particular property.
I love it. Thank you very much.
Chris, you're up next, sir. Your hand's been up for a minute. Please.
Yes, yes. Just to piggyback off of Tim over there, I'm pretty sure it sounds like a happy force. I don't know if that was the organization that you would refer to with a guy named Larry, but
No comment.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, yeah, the same thing. We actually have something similar with Larry in my whole entire portfolio. And we also are beta testing Lease AI. So Lease AI, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that with Z.
Yeah.
But we're gonna test it out. My concern is with the bad data again, because this is strictly student housing world, right? Drunk college kids.
Yeah.
I got a leak in my faucet, won't stop dripping. They don't realize that's only, leaking when it's on and so forth, et cetera. So that false information or got the unit number wrong. That's my main concern. Had some instances where the wrong property was, called for an emergency. The guy show up, nothing's happened, and it was a sister property down the road. Now I had a leak that's been occurring for more than 4 or 5 hours, and now it's escalated to kind of a really big cost. So that's what, like my concern with AI, in reference to like speaking with a live person, because parents in the student world, right, would love for their child to talk to a live person, can give them advice over the phone. But then we have concerns with that too. Do I want a student touching my brittle pipes and valves, and do I now can escalate this even further? So that's kind of my concerns. But my question was exactly the same as Tim. So
Yeah, I mean, you'll see, I would be concerned with that too. Like right now, I honestly would be testing because the mistakes could be very costly. And especially certain tools that you mentioned are still using NLP. They're not using agentic AI with large language models. Those, I mean, they operate with a high error rate. And it's like, but like to me in maintenance, that's very tough to kind of work with. But that's why I was telling you, it's like we're all benefiting from an improvement in these models. And you guys might hear, man, it's like every week Tesla comes up with like their new model. Then Grok comes up. Then DeepSeek from China comes up. Now there's Sesame. It's like an explosion of these. And these are like brains, Some of them are fast, good at math. Some of them analyze. Some of them are great at talking and getting information correctly. So you're going to see a lot of that filter into the higher quality AI platforms in multifamily, which that's why right now I would be like buyer beware on a lot of that, just to make sure that it's well tested and then it works on your particular properties. Because also another problem with AI is that people have the false notion that I'm just going to pay for a product, it's going to work. There is some level of training. So do you have people that are willing to actually write down their procedures per unit? Do you have that documented to begin with? You may not. So a lot of it is like anecdotal within someone's head. Like sometimes people will have the same 2 people maintaining a property. If they go, nobody knows how to do certain things. So how do you take that and turn it into valuable training data? So I think that if I was to talk to you guys about starting steps in order to make this work, I would start there. I would start thinking who does what, how do we handle things? What are the processes that we currently use? Do I have sufficient documentation that can be used? Because once you get that, I'm telling you, I'm not that concerned about the AI making errors in the future, because I've seen with every iteration, like for us, we're on V4 right now, we're releasing, and we had certain issues too. Like, to me, lease data doesn't work if I have the wrong name or the wrong, email address or wrong phone number. It's like there's so many ways that the process breaks, but you can see how this is getting better and better and better now, to where, and then some of those issues with validating units and validating people to a unit, there's some complexity there too. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That's not to be overlooked, because what happens, we have a simple solution that we give away for free, and we have some smaller properties really like it. And it's not well integrated. It will just essentially create a work order and send it to the office, to whoever contact you want. And that works because it's manual. So it asks people to type stuff in, and then people know immediately in a smaller property. But in big properties, or when you're servicing multiple buildings with a single team, then you have to go through authentication. And I have to tell you, that's a little bit trickier because it adds to the workflow. So then what I have to do, I have to have access to databases. They give me my rent roll. And then I have to then ask people some identifiable information, unless, or have them log in so I can verify their identity to make sure they really, I am talking to the person that owns the address that's listed under Unit 206B. So there are solutions on that too. We are actually solving a lot of those problems to make sure that we would have different ways of functioning depending on which APIs are available in the property. Because a lot of properties too, they don't use a lot of maintenance APIs. They have that's going to be part of the problem too. How do you accommodate buildings that some of them may have great integrations with companies like, Yardi or Entrata, to where even though expensive, but we could access them via API, but some of them are like homebrew systems and processes that are very difficult to kind of automate.
So we have a next question from Steve. He's not able to be on camera, so I'm going to ask on his behalf. How is that hardware integrated into existing buildings without a huge CapEx expense?
It's not. That's what's holding that back. Like, a lot of people have been talking about implementing all of these sensors for a long time, but that's what's kind of holding it back. What I was seeing as a trend there, that the price of sensors and small electronics in general is falling to a point, and there are different technologies like NFCs and stickers and things like that. So they could make it a little bit easier. But then again, I want to make sure that I don't go too far into this because I'm not an expert in sensor hardware. But I know from just being around trade shows and reading about technology, the costs are going down, and there are better ways to implement stuff than there was even just like 4 or 5 years ago. So I would say that you would have to look at the property, do the real math, and see whether it's worth the CapEx hit or not.
Jim, do you want to ask your question live, or do you want me to read it? You can, if you want to.
Yeah, so my question is this. So we're talking about AI a lot around our company right now, around our enterprise. We have not adopted or taken on anything on an enterprise level. Our head of IT has some strong feelings on this when he's not wrong. I mean, security is a big part of his job. So given how AI grows and gets fed by getting inputs from a whole bunch of us, how do you ensure data security? There's things that we wouldn't want shared. So It could be resident name, resident information, unit number, a whole bunch of stuff like that. Could be other things that we think are proprietary to our shop and we don't want others to know about. So, some of the stuff we're looking at is getting our own proprietary AI platform, for people within our company. Now, we're not talking about for maintenance at this point. At this point, we're really talking about it at the corporate level. But as I think about all the stuff there is out there, for AI, and particularly in the maintenance area, security is something that comes to front of mind for me.
Yeah, I mean, for everybody, really, and the platform that you're describing, that's what BetterBot is. It's essentially a platform that allows you to build agents company-wide to solve different problems. And what happens when it comes to security, there's two things that need to be said. One, traditional security methods still work with AI. Like, for example, even AI, the data that you're talking about is still saved somewhere in databases. It's still saved in files, folders on Amazon Web Services. So there are best practices that we have to follow. So, for example, for us, we would have to, we have policies that we have to maintain, employee training that we have to do. We have periodic penetration tests where we hire people to see, how the platform holds up and then give us notes. And, so that I would say, it's in many ways business as usual. Now, the second part of security, so that one it's pretty straightforward. You would secure it like any other platform, like you would secure your CRM platform, or like the way you would secure your property management system platform. The second thing that people sometimes have confusion with is, what about the AI stealing your information? And are you really training now Microsoft to own your training data in the future? So that's and how do you make sure that the AI, it's not jailbroken to actually say certain things or do certain things that would damage your property? So what happened when it comes to that is is there are enterprise deployments, just like we deploy any types of software, to make sure that you don't use the public models because that is important. And what's happening right now, I'm hearing from so many property managers that staff are using ChatGPT, the public version, on the job all the time and copying and pasting into property management
That's what we
systems.
have going on in our company, and everybody's
Yeah, so it's like, and that is dangerous. Like that, like you should not be doing that. That is like not, so what happens? That's why you would go to a platform like BetterBot, to where you know that you're using enterprise instances or well-tested models. So, for example, even the models that we use to power our AI, we don't just put DeepSeek or anything like that that has no safety training. We look at to see how they're rated, because if you read all the models, and usually the ones from OpenAI, for example, they go through rigorous testing to make sure that they have this enterprise security, because after all, they're sold through Microsoft Azure and through AWS, So there are now enterprise deployments to where I don't think that's as much of a risk as it might have been, but definitely your people using unauthorized free versions of DeepSeek R1, that's not good.
Yeah, right. No, that's a different issue, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. And so, okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
Chad, you're up next, sir.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry I was a few minutes late, but I was hoping to get here because I'm very interested in this. A question going back to where you were talking about how the AI can kind of help diagnose things from different places, like different sensors, things like that. At where I'm currently at, we actually are fairly far along as far as technology goes. My company's actually developed its own remote touring, so
yeah.
They've done all that in-house. And actually I've started asking the question, how could we utilize that technology, say, for our vendors? Because we're having a lot of issues with vendors being able to get keys or get access to vacants, things like that. We have tons of electronic locks. We're going through doing a lot of that. A lot of that is also usually accessed through the resident portal. Another thing that we're finishing up on in the next couple months is we have installed all of the leak detection sensors. It's a Kairos system, and we get information from Kairos itself, but really it doesn't have any sort of interactive type of information, meaning like if a leak goes off in an apartment, whether it's under a sink, in the HVAC or whatever, while it sends an alert, it doesn't say anything specific. Like if there's a leak within your HVAC, well, how is it possible to be able to send something directly to the resident in the moment, just to say leak detected in HVAC, please turn off HVAC and call, anything like that? Is it that type of level of integration with everything else working? I mean, are those types of things possible and reliable?
And you guys are far along, I can tell you, from people that I talked to. Your question, again, you guys, great questions today. One thing that it's not only that it's possible, make sure that whenever you work with vendors, you have access to that data, because you want that data combined with the data you would have from other maintenance tools. Like, you want to know not only that there's a leak in that unit, but I want to go back now to the that particular resident, look at the maintenance records, just see if it's happening too much.
When was the last time? Or is it a false alarm?
Or is it a false alarm? Or
it flags us to go look at that sensor, right? Like,
yeah, and to send them a text or even a phone call, voicemail drop, to kind of have them, check this out. We received a sensor alert, but I need you to verify and report. That's where I think AI is going to shine. I see that as the low hanging fruit. I see that AI can come in now, take different data and combine it in order to provide a communication tool. Again, where I see the data being really good, being that first line of defense or the first conversation that a renter has before we escalate. that's where I'm seeing the models getting stronger, having better vision, being able to take pictures, soon videos, being able to combine answers based on raw training data. Like, give me just the PDF manuals for all the things in the unit. Or we can extract certain things from photos, like take pictures of like key places and like call the photo shut-off valve or this or a sensor point, or upload that into the AI and then see what happens. Like, AI is really good with unstructured data. Like, you can dump a lot of stuff from different sources, and then it's really good at sorting that out into, again, a agentic approach to where it's trying to solve the problem. So that means it will ask questions. It will try actively to hold a conversation with context that sounds like you're talking to a human till it solves the problem. And we're working on that on the maintenance side. We're already using that on the leasing side. Like, I'll tell you, like, things that happen on the leasing side for us all the time. Somebody says, all right, I try to file a lease. It's not working. The AI goes, hold on, you mentioned that you own a 120-pound German Shepherd. Have you gone to petscreening.com yet? So person goes to PetScreen, they come back, they're like, okay, let's try again. The AI says, they're like, success. I get a lease for signature. Then they're like, but I'm trying to click the sign button. It's not working. The AI goes, what kind of browser are you using? It says like, Safari. All right, go up there, clear cache, try again. They clear cache, they come back, they're like, thank you so much. See, we didn't train the AI. We tell the AI, your goal is to get this person supported in any way that you can with the information they provide. So then if we feed it the process, what are the least requirements? What are like everything, all of a sudden it knows. It starts guessing, and it's really, really good at pinpointing where the problem is. And when it comes to some of these technical support, we don't train that. Like, that's built into the model. So the model itself contains a lot of these conversational agentic things pre-trained that I think we just benefit from using just newer, smarter models. And I think that's where we are right now, to where I think now we're already, I can tell you results. It's pretty amazing compared to anything else. Like, because you can take a picture and you can troubleshoot from there.
And also, I saw a comment from Jim out there. So Chad, if you want, I could connect the two of you. He's saying he's using leak detection sensors and everything, and he says that alerts are available to the products that they're using. So maybe that's worth a conversation between the two of you.
100% it's available today.
Yeah. One thing that comes to mind, Z, is 2 or 3 months ago, I saw a post on LinkedIn. The post was saying there was a survey done asking leasing agents, like, what are they spending the most time on? And it came back that 67% of their time is being spent trying to help prospects and residents navigate through technology that's supposed to be like hands-free. So what I said, my first reaction was this when I was reading: I bet that someone, it's actually like building an AI model right now that's going to actually take that off the hands of the leasing agents. And that's only the first phase. The second phase is gonna tell property management company, these are some unreliable pieces of technology that your staff is spending way too much time on. You should consider eliminating them. So what are your thoughts on this scenario?
No, I mean, that's the I think about this all the time. Like, I think about the future quite a bit, you guys, as you can imagine. I read about AI. I listen to everyone from techno optimists to the worst doomers and gloomers on AI. And it's so funny. I'm trying to see, like, what's the real impact? Because you hear it in the news. Our president talks about it. We're talking about $2 trillion worth of investment in AI over the. So what's the big societal change that we're going to see that's happening? One thing that I'm seeing, and it's going to be, in my mind, a very positive trend, it gets people away from screens. So think about that for a second. It gets people away from solving problems or working in software and behind screens. That's the low-hanging fruit for AI, to where you're going to find that operations, and I mean, including property management operations, will be administratively run by AI. And the AI will loop in humans when they're needed to solve a problem that the AI cannot handle. But I think most things will be handled with AI agents, they can hand off work one to another. They're aware of each other, and that they can operate in unison under a single platform. So that's why I think a lot of the things that you're mentioning, Andrea, will be solved, because I think they will do better at troubleshooting these certain issues that humans are doing, because AI is excellent at that. And that's why I think that eventually what's going to happen, all of us, we're going to spend a little less time via screens, because when we're on screens, we're using some sort of CRM software, some sort of ERP software, some sort of work order management software. We're constantly doing work in software. And I think a lot of that will be automated.
One of the challenges we have, and gentlemen, please, don't let me take over the entire conversation. If you have questions, please raise the hand, or intervene directly, or type in a comment. I watch the comment box, right? By all means, I don't want to take over a conversation. I do have questions, but I'm sure you do too. So at any given moment, just intervene. So Z, one of the things that we've been talking about on this council here is that we're lacking training. Obviously, for all of us probably here in this room, the best type of training is like the hands-on. I think what most people find the most benefit in is the hands-on training. Well, unfortunately, that's not scalable. The scalability is very reduced. How can we take any of us right here from virtual rooms, put us in a field and train thousands of technicians? So the question is, there's not enough of us to train the maintenance personnel at a site level. So I'm thinking this is where technology could be very meaningful. And here's what I'm thinking, right? And I want your take on it. I could see in the future an AI being built to where it takes, it asks me questions, hey, what do you know about changing a condenser? You will do an interrogatory of learning what I know, check against the science, and actually know exactly what I know, what I don't know, and then build a training body for me, AI training body for me, that I could have it on my phone right here, that I could talk to, and actually give me a very tailored training. Because this is another thing too that we have. We do training, but it's kind of like blanket training. Whether there's Grace here or in person or wherever, we say, hey, all the technicians, all the maintenance personnel has got to go to this training, without necessarily looking at targeting. I know that Chad has tried something that's very personalized, at his last company, and that was I think very, very powerful to me. But how close or far are we from having those tools available to actually do that for us, to actually be a training body and follow us around and actually supplement that lack of I guess scalability when it comes to the in-person?
I mean, that again, I would list that as a low-hanging fruit. That's probably one of the first problems that we'll see solved, because I'm already seeing products that are trying to do this, because the idea is that when you have doing maintenance, they're in the field. AI is particularly useful because you don't have to type. People that work in the field generally, and I know this even from my days on the build side, it's very difficult to ask someone, they're sweaty working on a AC condenser in 103 degrees, and they're supposed to be now Googling some training materials or reading a PDF manual on a particular, electric control unit or something along those lines. When in fact, what you could do, you could create specific materials again, to where they could take a picture of the unit in particular, and then ask questions with voice and receive questions, and you can have a back and forth conversation. The AI agents already support that. For example, I have back and forth conversations with ChatGPT. But what's going to have to happen is, I think it's a lot of this work with AI. I think a lot of managers haven't realized that they have a little bit of homework to do to get it off the ground. So it's going to be, again, do you have that information? Do you have serial numbers for all your units and PDF documentation for all of them? Do you have, previous work orders, so you can see if a job was done on the same unit before, how it was solved? Because right now we can train our AI with any kind of an FAQ, and we already use this for people up upload their standard operating procedure documents. So then, the SOP becomes like a training manual. So absolutely, I see that. And what we're going to need to have is people in maintenance that are willing to take the leadership on this within organizations to get it done, because then it solves another problem too. Onboarding new employees, replacing employees. Like, the problem in general right now, not just in maintenance or in multifamily, in business as a whole, too much knowledge is concentrated in individual heads. So when you have certain people departing, and it's not like for bad reasons. I mean, they retire, you know what I mean? And a person that retires, you know how much they know about a property or a portfolio or something like that? They are the encyclopedia. I've talked to some people in maintenance and I'm like, whoa, man, they are going to feel that when you leave, because, it's like this person knows a property inside and out. Like, how do you get some of that knowledge, to where you can train an AI on it?
I kick the question back to you. How do we actually do that, Z? How do we capture all that legacy knowledge that's, let's say at this virtual table here and like at the sites, but, it's like the number of, people that have legacy knowledge diminishes by the day. And Jose, I see your hand up, so your question will be next.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways to do it. There's an automated and a manual method. The automated method is, let's find what information we have from work orders prior, stuff that's from other types of software that we've used in the past, and then see whether we can just point to documentation online for certain appliances, things like that. The other part is manual. If you haven't done process documentation, I mean, honestly, you should be doing it anyway. If you're anyone with a title of manager, director, you want to know how certain things work. It's going to take just document it. They're literally creating some version of a standard operating procedure document or FAQs or PDFs. The format doesn't matter as much. AI is really good at ingesting any kind of format, but it's going to come down to, have I sat down to actually write this down?
Jose, you're up next, sir.
Hey, Adrian. Yeah, so I think kind of I'm on the same tier or same boat as Adrian. Kind of curious as to like if there's platforms that are out there. I know for us, we've implemented interplay learning, which is amazing. And even talking with them, I was telling them, it'd be really great to see if we had something, or if they had something, or they're going to start implementing something where, as Adrian's saying, right, we come across something, you go in and you put in just say your superheat or your subcool, whatever it's called, or on say that unit that you're trying to troubleshoot. You kind of go through these processes, and I'm curious if anybody's heard of anything in regards to that, or anything that is out there. I mean, I know definitely it's got to be on, like you're saying, that low hanging fruit. I would assume that somebody would probably be starting to work on this, because it's just really can capitalize on helping and training. And then moving forward, I know as you were saying too, right, is where somebody might be sweaty, or they're, mechanics working with vehicles, same concept as, guys up on the rooftop. But I guarantee you, they're still looking at their phones, and they may still be doing that research. I know for me, I got the pro version of the Chat GPT, and I use it essentially kind of for those trainings. I'm really impressed as far as building my own chat bot. And sometimes, some of the questions that, I don't go and get anything proprietary to our company, but I'll grab those scenarios and build it and then say, hey, how do you troubleshoot these things? And I'm really impressed as far as what it comes across, because it will give you a step-by-step, right? Whether it's from a electrical issue that you might be troubleshooting from the transformer over to the thermostat, and then signifying what each wire is supposed to represent and where it's supposed to be connected to on specific models. And I know, and I didn't realize where Apple now has the Apple Intelligence, which I would love to see is on the visual form. I'm going to actually try it on probably on an appliance or something here in the near future. And the real near future is taking that picture and asking it, say a model number of a HVAC unit, and ask it, what type of refrigerant is this supposed to have. But have you all heard of anything that's coming down the pipe, or that's going to be in this kind of?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming down the pipe. We're in the process of working with development partners. Like we're building that out. to be able to do all of that with information, because we have the ability, we have the AI channels essentially to communicate with something via SMS or chat or email or whatever the appropriate method is, and to be able to provide exactly that type of information. Now, the key thing here is that you can see the capabilities of what's coming, doing what you're doing right now, like using like Chat GPT Plus, because the capabilities you're seeing are going to be underpinned on the same models. The big difference, though, is the integrations that are multifamily and property specific. That's going to be where you're not going to get any general tool that you're using. It's not going to be integrated in the rest of your property data. So, for example, for us, it's like, it's not just having an AI, but I want to make sure if you're using like Yardi Voyager for maintenance, to be able to go in there and via API to see what's happening with the statuses of a job, or how many work orders we've done, or what were the work orders like? Do we have prior knowledge of certain problems, successful solutions, being able to say in the field, like, hey, I solved this and it worked. So the AI is like, okay, got that. Next time he comes over, I'll be able to lean on that information to where he gets trained on your other tools that you're using, primarily where you manage work orders. Like, that's going to be critical for any tool that you use to be able to successfully integrate with your work order management tool.
Well, no, and then I get that, and I see that, and I think everybody I have talked with, it always reverts back to managing that, and more from a document standpoint. But where I'm trying to see is, where is there going to be a visual, and obviously you guys are working on it, and where it's going to correlate and relate. It's all going to be based off of what is also from that technician was probably put on those notes, which we all know we struggle with, where they might just put completed on the work order. Well, what does completed look like, right? We went in there, we charged a unit, put X amount of pounds. This was where the superheat was. This is the target superheat, and this is where we needed to be, right? But from a visual standpoint, right, is there going to be something where that's going to integrate some kind of visual, where we're capturing pictures, things of that nature? I know from, like, again, that work order standpoint, it's very, very, I think in this for AI, which seems to be more simpler for them to do, or for that bot or that AI platform, is to take all that documentation. Because example would be with the A2L shifts, we're looking, across our region to see, okay, how many R22 units do I have? How many 410A units do I have? How many 407C units do I have? I get all of that information, and I've, provided that info into AI, and it'll break it down for us and give us that information, which is great. But from that troubleshooting standpoint, right? And I'm not too sure if you're familiar with like Interplay, but I would really like to see where it correlates with something like Interplay, where there's this visual actual thing. And that's what I'm trying to see, if there's anything that's going to be coming down, or anybody's even heard of that.
Yeah, I mean, the visual models are supported, and they're gonna work. Now, that's what you're gonna see is tools of all sorts, because when I go to AI conferences, not just like multifamily conferences, you're like, oh man, they're doing this for every aspect of construction, vehicle maintenance, facilities maintenance. It's like, a lot of it there. It's like multifamily is a little bit behind. And I'll tell you what's really tricky in multifamily is a lot of those, like, for example, people want certain quality, but then they want me to plug into some version of MRI from 50 years ago. You know what I mean? Good luck with that. There's no space via that API integration for a picture, a photo, or a note, or there's like all these limitations that we're dealing with the APIs. And they're all different. Yardi does it one way, and Trada does it another way. RealPage does it a third way. And it's like, all of a sudden, we're limited, and why sometimes innovation in multifamily lags is because of the ecosystem overall. But that we will have a tool. I can tell you that, guaranteed. But the thing is that's the difficult problem to solve. How do you get a tool that works successfully with all of these different integrations? Because otherwise you can make a tool that's commercially viable if you build it with one tool, because you guys know portfolios are mixed, because as companies acquire different properties, they sometimes have different systems, and it's very difficult to standardize. And that's Jose, why? But we will see that. We will see very similar to what you're talking about because it's happening in every industry I know.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. And you guys, if any of you would be interested to kind of be involved on what's happening on the development side of maintenance AI, let me know. And I wouldn't mind, cluing you in or letting you know what we're thinking or what we're building, what it looks like, and getting some feedback and working out some kind of deal in return to thank you guys for your support, because that's how we built everything, is with development partners.
Well, Ziu, this was incredibly useful for me. I hope for everybody else here too. The good news is that we have everything recorded, so we're gonna put it out in a word, and more of us will be exposed to what was talked about today. I just want to wrap it up. I know we only have like 2 minutes left, but one thought that I have: centralization can be really possible until you do like automation and fine-tuning your existing systems first. So what are your thoughts on like automated workflows and smarter dispatching when it comes to work? And then the part that you don't have to like go back and forth to from the office, like grab physical keys, some system that you could actually access doors and limit, or like manage access from remotely, and then do everything on your phone when it comes to like unique assets. So when it comes to like actually fine-tuning existing stuff and work smarter before take it the next step to centralization, what are your thoughts on that, and what are the possibilities that you know of?
No, I mean, centralization, really, AI and centralization, to me, it's one and the same. I mean, because AI is centralized and allows you to manage something from a central location. Now, if I understand correctly, you're asking me what happens with a lot of current products that are out there and that support workflows and that do. And I'll tell you, this is a generic answer, but true every time. It depends on the company. Because right now, what's happening, certain companies are like, wow, we're moving towards agentic AI, and they're revamping their products because it's not compatible with all software. You literally have to change what you have and build something new. So you're going to see some of the obviously current companies develop amazing products and very full-featured products with AI. But also, I think that some products will just die out. Just as simple as that. If they internally don't do the heavy lift to actually revamp their own platforms, I think they're not going to be competitive in the future. So you have to kind of be mindful of that when making investments into existing products.
This is all the time we had for today. Z, very much appreciated. Also on short notice, I had to say, I thought about inviting you on Sunday. So thank you for accommodating us. Amazing insights, and we got to continue. Got to do this again, because I have several questions that I think we're barely scratching the surface here. So I want to find a way to for us to do another like a part 2 in the future. There's so much more that I think we should cover. There's a lot of fascinating stuff that's out there.
Absolutely, and thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you all, gentlemen. Great seeing you again, and Chris, welcome to the group. Hopefully you could make time and be here more often. And gentlemen, see you in 2 weeks. I want to think about our next topic, and I will send it. Also, if you have suggestions for next topics, you send them over to me. I'm all open. Like, it doesn't have to come just from me, but look forward to 2 weeks from now. Take care. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.